centripetal force. This force is called the centripetal force. Okay. If m is the mass of the object and v is its speed, if m is the mass of the object and v is its speed, consider an object moving. What does this say? Centripetal force. Consider an object moving in a circle with constant speed. This is possible only when the object is constantly acted upon by a force directed towards the center of the circle. This force is called the centripetal force. If m is the mass of the object, v is its speed. M is the mass and v is its speed. M is the mass of the object and v is its speed, and r is the radius. R is the radius of the circle. R is the radius of the circle, and r is the radius of the circle. Then F equals to mv. Then equals to mv square upon r. This force will be v square upon r. Okay, v square upon r. F equals to mv square upon r. That is what it says. Now, using this, we can apply the same logic to planets and the sun. So it says if a planet is revolving around the sun, if a planet is revolving around the sun, okay, if a planet is revolving around the sun in a circular orbit in uniform circular motion, then the centripetal force acting on the planet towards the sun will be denoted by F equals to mv square upon r, where m actually stands for the mass of the planet. M stands for the mass of the planet. Okay, and v is the speed with which it is moving around, and of course r will be the distance of the planet from the sun. R will be the distance of the planet from the sun. Now, how do we denote this t? How do we denote this speed? How do we denote this speed for planets? This speed can be denoted as in terms of revolution. Okay, period of revolution, that is t. Okay, we can denote it as t. Now, the distance that is right up, the distance traveled by the planet in one revolution. Distance traveled by the planet in one revolution. It starts from here and comes back over here. Distance traveled by the planet in one revolution. Starts from here and comes back over here. Just a second. Just go. So as I was saying, this is from where it starts. So that is one complete revolution. So the distance traveled by the planet in one revolution equals to perimeter. This distance is nothing but perimeter of the orbit. Now perimeter here, we'll take it as it's a circular orbit. Perimeter of the orbit. Perimeter is nothing but circumference, and circumference is nothing but 2 pi r. 2 pi r. Okay. Perimeter of the orbit is 2 pi r, where what is r? R is the distance of the planet from the sun, right now. R is the distance of planet from, isn't it? From the sun. Distance of planet from the sun. R is the distance of planet from the sun. R is distance of planet from the sun. Time taken to complete this. time taken to complete one revolution. Okay, it is also called as period of revolution. Period of revolution. This is denoted by capital T. Period of revolution. This is denoted by capital T. Okay, this is denoted by capital T. And we already know speed is distance upon time. V is speed. So V equals to distance traveled upon time, distance traveled upon time taken, distance traveled upon time taken to travel the distance. Now distance traveled is 2 pi r. Distance traveled is 2 pi r. Time taken is for one revolution is given by t. Time taken is given by one revolution, that is t. Done till here. Okay. Now for V we are going to substitute this. We have written F equals to mv square upon r. Now that V we have found out is nothing but 2 pi r upon t. Therefore I'm going to say F equals to m. In place of V square, I'm going to say 2 pi r upon t, the whole square divided by r. 2 pi r upon t, the whole square divided by r. Expand this. So m will remain as m. 2 square will become 4. 2 square will become 4. Pi square will become pi square. Pi square will become pi square. Okay. And r square upon tr. R square upon tr. R square upon tr. This r and this square will eventually cancel. This r and, or rather we are not going to cancel it. Yeah, this will cancel. So you will get F equals to 4m pi square 4m pi square r upon t. 4m pi square r upon t. 4m pi square r upon t. Now I am going to multiply and divide by r square. So this will become 4m. This will become 4m pi square upon r square, and this r into r square will be r cube upon t. R cube upon, sorry, this was t square. This whole thing, nobody's telling me upon t square. R cube upon t square. Okay, but already we had seen day before r cube upon t square upon r cube was constant. We had written the other day, if you remember, the first formula that we had written.
Yes, sir.
By Newton. What was that? Kepler's third law. By Kepler's third law, we had written t square upon r cube equals to k. This was the first thing. So here, this is 1 upon k. Instead of k, this is inverse. This has become 1 upon k. This has become 1 upon k. So this would become F equals to 4m pi square upon r square k. यहाँ तक कॉपी करो, फिर आगे बताता हूँ. Upon r square k. Okay, copy till here, then we'll proceed further. Let others also finish. Okay. So then, but what is 4? 4 is constant. 4 cannot change. 4 will remain as 4 only. Similarly, pi is also not going to change. Pi's value is also fixed. So pi square will also be fixed. Value of pi square will also not change. Neither 4 will change nor pi square will change. K is also constant. That is also not going to change. K is also constant. Similarly, and M is also constant. M is also not going to change. M is also not going to change. So 4m pi square upon k is going to be constant. 4m pi square upon k. This part is going to be constant. Okay. This part is going to be constant. So what is left? Only 1 upon r square. So it says this force will vary inversely as the square of the distance between the sun and the planet. It will vary inversely. Okay, that is what it is going to say. So here, after doing this, we'll say but 4 upon but 4m pi square upon k equals to constant. Therefore, f varies 1 upon r square. Therefore, f varies, or rather, if this is constant, first step I'll say is equal to this full thing, constant into 1 upon r square. That is, f varies inversely as the square of the distance between the planet and the sun. Okay. This is the inverse square law of gravitation. Okay. So what it says is centripetal force, which is a force acting on the planets and responsible for the circular motion, is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the planet and the sun. That is what we have said. Okay. So this is your formula. F equals to 4m pi square r square upon k. They'll not ask you to derive this, but you should know. Okay, because our objective is not only the exams, our objective is also to acquire knowledge. Okay, objective is also to acquire knowledge. Now we had said every object attracts every other object, isn't it? So let's do a numerical based on that. Let's see why is it that, supposing there is a table and you're standing, logically when it says every object attracts every other object, you are attracting that table. So why is the table or that cupboard not moving towards you? Or why are you not moving towards that table if the table is attracting you? Why does that happen? So let's understand that with the help of a simple numerical. Right. तो दोनों क्रिकेटर का एग्जांपल दिया, चलो कोई बात नहीं, लिख लो. Mahendra and Virat, or Dhoni and Kohli, whatever. Mahendra and Virat are sitting at a distance. Mahendra and Virat are sitting at a distance. Mahendra and Virat are sitting at a distance of 1 meter from each other. Mahendra and Virat are sitting at a distance of 1 meter from each other. They're sitting at a distance of 1 meter from each other. Their masses are 75 kg and 80 kg respectively. Their masses are 75 kg and 80 kgs respectively. Their masses are 75 kgs and 80 kgs respectively. That means Mahindra is 75 kgs and Virat is 80 kgs. What is the gravitational force between them? What is the gravitational force between them? Logically, if two people are sitting, both of them are attracting each other. So why are they not moving towards them? So what is that gravitational force that is acting between them? That is what we are trying to find out. So what is the gravitational force between them? Okay, radius is given, r equals to 1 meter. That is also given to us. They are sitting at a distance of 1 meter from each other. Okay, so that is the information that is given. Also, we know G is given as 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 Newton meter per kg square. Newton meter per kg square. That is what it is. Okay, that is the value of G. 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 Newton meter per kg square. Okay. The other day we had written the formula F equals to G m1 m2. F equals to G m1 m2 upon r square. So the force of attraction, for that we had written this formula G m1 m2 upon r square. This formula we had already written. Just substitute the values. So this will be 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 into 75 into 80 upon 1 square. Now 1 square is going to remain as 1 only, so that's not going to matter much. Okay, this multiplication 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 into 75 into 80 gives me 4.002 into 10 raised to minus 7. 10 raised to minus 7 Newton. Now, what that translates to, let's try and understand what this means. Of course, all of you understand maths, you have done exponents. So when it is raised to minus 7, that means it is divided by 1 and 7 zeros. So this would be, the answer ends over here. But what this means is, 4.002 upon 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this will shift 7 pieces. 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4002 Newton. 4002 Newton. Now, this is the kind of force with which it is pulling you towards it. This is the kind of force with which a person is being pulled. Now, this force is very, very, very negligible, because what is 1 Newton? 1 Newton, in fact, even if you lift a coin of 20, let's say a small coin, if you lift it, that causes roughly that force 25 paise ka coin or 50 paise ka coin, 5 rupee coin, the way force with which you are lifting that coin would be 1 Newton. So how much force you are applying, you can understand now. If you are lifting a coin which is roughly 1 Newton approximately. Now imagine this is 0.000004. So how small or how insignificant that force is. That's why you do not feel that force. That's why the two persons, though they are sitting at a distance of 1 meter, they are not feeling the force, because it is very, 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 very insignificant, or very, very, very small, I would say. Not insignificant, but very, very, very small. This is a very small force. Okay. Is that clear? Any doubts still here? Any doubts still here? Okay. Now, we also know that friction exists when you're sitting on a bench or wherever. There will be friction. Assuming that there was no friction. Assuming that there was no friction, what would happen? So if there was no friction, then Mahindra would start moving towards Virat. Okay, with zero velocity. Supposing if that was the case, let's understand how that also happens. So write down the next numerical. In the above example, assuming assuming that the bench on which Virat sits, on which Mahendra sits, or whatever, assuming that the bench on which Mahendra sits is frictionless, assuming that the bench on which Mahendra sits is frictionless, starting with zero velocity, starting with zero velocity, assuming that the bench is frictionless and starting with zero velocity, what will be Mahendra's velocity? What will be Mahendra's velocity of motion? What will be Mahendra's velocity of motion towards Virat? What will be Mahendra's velocity of motion towards Virat after 1 second? What will be Mahendra's velocity of motion towards Virat after 1 second? Will this velocity change with time and how? Will this velocity change with time and how? Okay. Now here we have also got F. We have just now found that out. F equals to 4.002 into 10 raised to minus 7 Newton. This is what we have found out. Okay. Now we know F equals to mass into acceleration. Force is also mass into acceleration. Force is mass into acceleration. So I can also say acceleration is mass upon force. Acceleration is, sorry, hold on. Acceleration is, bring M over here, force upon mass, not mass upon force. Acceleration is force upon mass, which is how much? Which is 4.002 into 10 raised to minus 7 upon mass of Mahendra is 75. Upon mass of Mahendra is 75, which works out to 5.34 into 10 raised to minus 9. And acceleration is always in meter per second square. Meter per second square. This is your acceleration. Okay, this is the acceleration that is produced. Now we have already learned in 9th standard Newton's laws of equation. Okay, which says V equals to U plus AT. We know final velocity equals to U plus acceleration into time. Now U we know starting from 0. It is said starting from 0. So since he's starting from 0, it is 0 plus 5.34 into 10 raised to minus 9. 5.34 into 10 raised to minus 9 and time after 1 second. So into 1. So it will be 5.34 into 10 raised to minus 9. Velocity is in terms of meters per second and not meter per second square. So it will be 5.34 into 10 raised to minus 9 meter per second. That will be his velocity after 1 second. Now, since there is force of attraction, since Mahendra is being pulled towards Virat continuously, he is moving. So obviously, he'll be moving faster and faster. Velocity will keep increasing with time because of acceleration. The acceleration will keep on increasing. Okay, because the distance keeps on decreasing. So therefore, what will happen? Will this velocity will change with time? Yes, velocity will change with time. How? Because he's moving closer and closer, because velocity is changing with respect to acceleration, and acceleration will change because the distance keeps on decreasing. Okay, which will decrease, distance between them will decrease, which will cause increase in gravitational force. Okay, so that is what it says. Copy till here, then we will look further. Okay, so this is what will happen. It will move at this velocity. Now you can see the velocity is so very small. Here they have also given you the logic about why there is high tide and low tide. Okay, as you can see, when the earth and the moon are aligned in one place, the moon will pull the earth towards itself. The earth will, so the moon will pull. So what happens? Because of that, you have high tides and low tides. Because of that, you have high tides and low tides because of the gravitational force exerted by the moon. The water which is directly under the moon, water which is directly under the moon is pulled towards the moon, due to which the water level there will go up. Water level, the moon will pull it towards itself, so the water level will go up. At that place there will be high tide. Okay, uske opposite, not opposite, uske kya bolenge, perpendicular to that, at that place it will come down. There it will be a low tide. There will be a low tide. If you have your textbook on page number 6, they have shown you. So at two places it is bulging and at the two places it is flattening at 90 degree. तो यहाँ पर जब खींचा जाएगा तो उसके जो परपेंडिकुलर पर जो जगह है वहां पर लो टाइड आएगा, यहाँ पर हाई टाइड, यहाँ पर लो टाइड. Okay, so if in Bombay it is experiencing, for example, high tide, whatever is perpendicular to Bombay, there at that point there will be a low tide. Is that clear? That is how you have high tides and low tides, and this happens twice in 24 hours, twice in a day, because first one time the moon is this side, the second time the moon is on the other side, but still it is in the same direction it is pulling. So that is what is going to happen. That's how you will have, that's how you have high tides and low tides. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's how high tides and low tides take place. That's just a basic working of it. Now, what about Earth's gravitational force? That we are going to see next in the next class. Okay, the Earth also pulls objects towards itself. Like if you throw a stone upward, वो हवा में ही नहीं चला जाता है कि चला जाता है, यहाँ से फेंक दिया, सर कहाँ चला गया पता नहीं, कब आएगा नहीं आएगा, नीचे नहीं आएगा. Does that happen? Eventually what happens, the stone goes up, it loses velocity as it is going up. As the stone is going up, it keeps on losing velocity. There comes a point where the velocity becomes zero. That means it stops going up further, and from then onward it again starts coming downward. It starts dropping. Isn't that what happens? Now depending on the speed or the strength at which with which you have thrown it will determine कि कितना ऊपर गया है. कम ताकत से फेंका है, कम फोर्स से ऊपर गया, थोड़ा जाएगा, ज्यादा ताकत ज्यादा फोर्स ज्यादा ऊपर जाएगा. But eventually it will reach a place and it will come down. Okay, now why does it come down? Why doesn't it stay up? That is because of the force which the earth exerts on the stone. For that matter, that is the reason the speed keeps on decreasing. Why doesn't it go up at a constant speed? Because the earth is parallelly pulling it down. आपने ऊपर फेंका है, लेकिन earth is pulling it down. So this is what we are going to see tomorrow. Okay, we'll study about this tomorrow. Please read these 2-3 pages and keep, so that it becomes easier for us to move faster further. Okay, read till page number 10, at least till page number 10. Free fall we'll see day after. वहां तक तो कम से कम कोशिश